Every serious incident on the road requires forensic examination.
We've got to start asking the question, why is this happening?
Pedestrians been struck in the cordoned off area of this dual carriageway. The car has failed to stop.
And inside the cordons, dedicated officers take on this challenge.
Clearly, I don't think this came out of the factory sounding like that. This person's lost their life for whatever reason. We're here trying to establish why. And only now can I realise that that is actually in the middle of my lane.
Tracking down the evidence.
This is really important, this is key.
To get to the truth.
Once we've got somebody, that's going to put him in the driver's seat.
There's a death on the road, so we've got to be investigated properly and thoroughly. This is a proper head scratcher, this is.
All in a day's work for the crash detectives.
Police emergency.
Oh my God. Well, there's a head-on collision.
Okay.
2 lorries involved.
Does it look like anybody needs an ambulance? Is anyone injured?
Definitely. There's a guy in the front of the one lorry. I don't know whether he's dead or what. I don't know.
Okay, all right, lovely, no problem. I'm going to send somebody down as an emergency straight away to you, all right?
We're on our way to a report of 2 heavy goods vehicles having collided head-on on a local industrial estate.
Critical care doctors are trying to treat a 55-year-old man who is currently trapped in his cab.
Looking at it, I put it as life-threatening at the moment.
100%.
Okay, so we're going to keep it as life-threatening until the sun.
Because you know what it's like, mate.
The only report we've had at the moment is one of the drivers appears to be seriously injured. There's still a fair bit of activity in relation to fire service. You can see you've got 3 of their trucks here at the moment. Potentially a volatile scene. What that means is we have to assess whether we're potentially going to lose any evidence because of the activity that's going on here.
With the driver now cut free, Dean and colleague Rhys Dickinson begin to assess this crash scene.
As far as we know, has anything been moved?
No. Literally, fire service, ambulance, we've all arrived at the same sort of time. So what we've got is what we turned up to, basically. Obviously, the debris has been kicked about because they've been trying to get them out. So he's going to go to Cardiff. He's going to be taken straight to the Heath, I think.
What's the extent of his injuries at the moment?
Massive hematoma to the side of his head, potential fracture to his left leg. Helimed are going to treat it as life-threatening until he's got a CT scan on the head. This guy's there's no concerns for him. He's all right at the moment. We've got an officer with him.
Which one is he?
Driver of that one.
The dash cams in there?
Not two dash cams.
Dash cams in both.
One in this one. Fire service have asked them to cut it round to get him out to do the windscreen. They've cut it round it, so it is in one piece. That one hasn't been touched. Nothing has been touched in that since we've turned up.
Yeah, everything's been kept sterile as possible.
Officers now want more details about this lorry's journey leading up to the crash.
Just thinking all the businesses off to the right. Can we do a fast track up there to see if he's come from there?
Probably another industrial site here.
Yes.
And see if he's come out of any of them.
Okay. Find out the route of the...
Cheers, mate.
Has he got any notes in there?
I haven't got in there, obviously. I didn't want to touch anything till you boys turned up, and I think that door open.
Can't see anything obvious. Don't go moving anything.
Tell parties got all.
You know, the one casualty has come from the truck where the fire service have been at work and they cut part of the truck away to be able to get the driver out. So the damage obviously is going to be different to that immediately after the impact. The fire service have been doing their work. So they managed to get him out. They're treating him at the stretcher at the side of the road now and assessing him before they move him off to the hospital. This driver, he's been assessed and thankfully he doesn't appear to be too seriously injured.
And a search of his cab has revealed more about the trip.
Trevor, it looks as if he might have come out of Oakwood Close, Pennyvan Industrial Park.
Alright, no worries, I'll send him up there now.
Which is where?
Cheers, mate. Is that, would that be the junction on the right up there now?
Yeah, I think it is the Northern side.
There we are.
No worries, mate. If they can do the inquiries here and whether we got any footage of him leaving.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need to get full breath test. No hospital procedure.
As wider investigations focus on this lorry's movements before the crash, Dean and Reese have questions about the position it's in now.
Is he reversing? I'm certainly not been shunted that far back, is he? The obvious thing that strikes me is that there's quite a distance between the trucks. It can occur where the one vehicle can rebound off. But when you've got trucks that potentially they both in excess of 38, 40 tons, it'd be unusual for a vehicle like this to rebound that far after impact.
So could establishing the point the two lorries collided explain more?
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah? Point of impact?
Yeah. Excuse me, mate. Can you just not stand right there?
We've got an obvious lock wheel mark going into a scuff off to the left. The nature of that mark tells us that is the point of impact is at that point there. The lorries probably would have been together after impact. I would think he's possibly reversed off to be able to get at the casualty. What's that, sorry guys? Yeah, please. Just clearing the scene now, clearing everything away. Once they finish, then we can assess what's going on.
The injured driver might be on his way to hospital, but there's still evidence here to reveal his actions in the lead up to the collision.
So you're looking for brake marks and other features on the road surface. We've identified already there's a number of what appear to be lock wheel marks from the rear trailer wheels. You may have potentially lock wheel marks from the rear of the tractor unit as well. So all that will build a picture as to how much time the driver had to react and what distance he had to react in it.
But this crash involves 44-ton trucks, capable of carrying huge or potentially dangerous loads.
Do we know if this is carrying anything?
Don't know what it's carrying, just that it wasn't carrying anything hazardous.
Okay. Oh, cool. Not much.
Happy? That's the main one.
Yeah.
Just confirm with that. I know he's got a delivery notes, but it has got an ASCEM, just an orange board.
We've just looked in the back of that one. That's just got some boxes of stuff. And they've just said this one's supposed to be empty. I'm not trusting, I'm going to check anyway.
There are boards on there that shows that he does carry hazardous goods, even though the board is closed. It's worth a check.
Confirmed empty.
Empty?
Yeah.
Now the focus turns to other vehicles needing to access this busy industrial area.
All the ambulance and fire are going now.
Cool.
The only thing we got left then, which is a bit of a problem, is trapped traffic at the top, trapped lorries, heavies. Do you think we can get them on the near side on the pavement without interrupting the scene?
If there's nothing in that lane, there's going to be an issue. They can come down that lane.
Okay.
Right.
Because there's no other way out to them.
No, I know.
Because all the lorries are stuck up that way, there is literally no other way they can get out. So we're just assessing up this end to see if this lane hasn't got any evidence at all, and we're going to clear the lorries and get all them through. So if we can, we try and open it up for them, but we've got to make sure we're not going to lose any evidence by doing it. So we're just looking for any pre-impact marks from the lorry. So we've got a bit coming through here, which could be one of the trailer wheels locking up. So it's just that one bit there then?
Yeah, just that there, potentially.
With pressure eased for now, there's time to take a closer look at exactly how the lorries have made contact.
Guys, we're only looking at about 10 to 20% overlap.
Not a lot.
No.
And it's identical on both. Same area.
And the location of the damage reveals details about the actions of each driver.
That one hasn't been moved at all. So if we position that truck here, he's obviously tried to take evasive action, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's tried to turn to the left. He's tried to swerve.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's just come straight.
And he's gone straight, yeah.
And something inside the cab has now caught their eye.
Very interestingly, look, the seatbelt's clicked in.
Came up to have a look, and first of all, you can see that it is actually locked. So that means this is the position he was in at the time of the impact. Initially, we thought that he wasn't wearing it because we thought it was clipped into the receiver and just lying across, which would have shown he was sort of sat on it. But when I've got in, it's actually not clipped in, and the receiver is down this end. So in all likelihood, someone has actually undone it when they've tried to get him out of here.
Well, have a look at that camera while you're there, see what...
Yeah. It's a lock one.
Locked, is it?
As inquiries begin to access the footage, the other lorry might prove more straightforward.
So we're going to seize the dash cam from this one. Obviously we can't from the other one because it's a unit that they can't tamper with. I'll turn it off first so anything's saved.
Thank you. Bit of luck, it'll be all on me. These dash cams are not always running, as we know, but fingers crossed it is recorded the incident. One of the first things we saw when we arrived at the scene is that the vehicle was a Polish registered vehicle, a left-hand drive. There were locked wheel marks or skid marks on the road surface from this vehicle. The obvious conclusion at that point was, for whatever reason, the driver was on the wrong side of the road at the time of the impact.
The driver has been checked out in hospital. He spent the night in custody and now needs to explain just why he appears to have got it so wrong.
The reason for this interview is because you've been arrested on suspicion of causing serious injury by dangerous driving.
Powód, dla którego jest pan przesłuchiwany, jest taki, że jest pan przesłuchiwany.
He's answering questions with help from a translator.
I've got the dash cam footage from his vehicle.
On ma również nagranie z kamery z pana pojazdu.
He doesn't have to view it, or he can view it if he wants to.
Nie musi pan tego obejrzeć, ale jeżeli pan chce, to może pan.
Nie, bo zaszkodzi to mam.
No, because this will not be good for my mental health. No.
If you could you talk me through what's happened leading up to the collision?
Wcześniej, jak się zaczęło tygodnia temu z tą chorobą moją.
But first, he says he wants to talk about his health.
A więc to było tak, przyjechałem do Anglii.
Okay, I want to start with saying that I came to England this month, but what I remember is that I got a high temperature.
Gorączka, poty, takie z przeziębieniem.
I had this really bad cough and sweating, and it was like a cold. I didn't have medication.
Despite feeling unwell, the driver said he continued with his work.
Przyjechałem na rozładunek, ale tam polatałem, zmęczyłem się i nasilił mi się kaszel.
So I went to the place where I was unloading, but I have to say that it was hard work and I felt that my cough was increasing.
What we know is that he was delivering to a premises on this industrial estate, and he's obviously dropped off his delivery and he's coming back out to the main road.
Podjechałem od rampy, stanąłem.
After unloading, I did all my paperwork. Then the cough came on, but then it stopped and I went to the junction.
Przyleciały auta.
I stopped before the junction because of the cough, but then the cough went away and I thought it was okay.
You got traffic coming from his left-hand side, which was a bit of a clue that they're on the correct side of the road. He starts to move off towards the junction, sees a give-way line, and then he's turning left onto the main industrial road. We see he pulls out, and initially he appears to be going towards the left-hand side of the road. Then comes back to the right-hand side.
Przyleciały auta.
When I pulled out, the cough came on again, but it was so severe and so acute that I saw blackness. I felt like I almost vomited, like I was throwing up. It was awful.
The vehicle accelerated up to around 20 miles per hour, and it continued for approximately 120 to 130 meters.
Okay. I katastrofa.
And then the catastrophe.
That's the first available view the truck drivers would have had of each other. Approximately 60 meters between them. The driver probably can't believe what's happening. He's confronted with another truck coming towards him, filling the road in front of him. Sheer panic, I would have thought.
But was the other driver able to react in any way?
What you can see from the truck coming towards us is the hazard lights will suddenly come on. You see the hazard lights on and flashing. What that indicates is that he's applied maximum braking, and the truck has realised it's in an emergency situation and the hazard lights will automatically come on. There was locked wheel marks or skid marks on the road surface that showed us that he braked prior to the impact. At this point as well, you see him trying to turn to the left. The natural reaction is to swerve away from the danger. The driver's hand there. It's his right hand doing that. You know, the corners of the vehicle have taken the brunt of the impact rather than the full frontal. If he hadn't attempted to swerve to the left, then it probably would have been a head-on. So he did have time to try and do something, but not enough time.
And the dash cam in his lorry was also recording.
That's the Polish vehicle coming towards us now. He is completely on the wrong side of the road. And in fact, he starts to bend more towards his right and our left.
Uderzyłem się w głowę, w boczną szybę wtedy. Troszkę miałem...
I hit my head on the window, and because of that I think I blacked out, but before blacking out I saw that the other driver's face.
I wycofałem do tyłu, żeby...
So I managed to reverse.
The collision was huge. You had a combined impact speed of around 45 miles per hour. It's effectively like one or both of the vehicles driving into a brick wall. A brick wall that doesn't collapse. They both stopped at the point of impact. Such was the magnitude of the impact.
But was there any reaction from the driver who was travelling on the wrong side of the road?
From the available evidence, it appears that the Polish driver didn't take any evasive action other than being able to brake at or just immediately before the impact itself.
If he's got a cough and he feels like blacking out, why didn't he pull over and stop? Przez ten wyrywanie czy coś, tak jakbym chwilowo stracił takie orientację taką.
I think I became, for a short period of time I became disoriented because I felt like this cough is like taking my lungs out.
He suggested that the cause of the collision was him suffering a coughing fit. What was significant about that was obviously the dash cam fitted to the vehicle recorded everything, including audio.
Is he aware that his dash cam has sound recording as well?
Wie pan, że pana ta nawigacja i że to, co jest ta kamera, która jest w pana kabie, że tam nagrywa też dźwięk. Wie pan o tym?
No nie wiem, która może być, że nagrało.
I didn't know, but then it should record it then.
Skręć w lewo, następnie skręć w prawo na rondzie i zjedź trzecim
As the vehicle moves off, you can hear the satellite navigation system, you can hear the engine, and you can hear the indicators. The truck continued along the wrong side of the road for about approximately 20 seconds. You could quite clearly hear what was going on inside the cab. And you hear a couple of expletives just before the impact, which is obviously from the driver.
251.
Significantly, what you don't hear is him suffering a coughing fit.
I've listened to the recording and there's no coughing leading up to the collision.
On mówi, że on posłuchał tego nagrania i tam nie ma pana kaszlu.
No nie wiem, kurde, bo ja kaszlałem, kurde.
I don't know how because I was coughing.
Okay. Had there been any sort of even the slightest of cough, let alone a coughing fit, we would have been able to hear it. But he certainly didn't help his cause by lying, essentially, sticking to this version of events which he knew wasn't true.
The lorry driver maintained his story, but chose to plead guilty to causing serious injury by dangerous driving. He was jailed for 20 weeks.
You can't hide. It's all there in pictures. And then sometimes, as we know in this case, audio as well.
The injured driver said he felt compassion for a man in the same profession.
After all he'd been through, he was very forgiving. You know, he was still concerned that the other driver was okay and for, you know, for his family, and concerned that he'd been locked up.
He even gave interviews about how grateful he was to have survived the crash.
He expressed his gratitude for the emergency services and the way he was dealt with. So it goes to show the mark of the man, really. As injured as the gentleman was, he appeared to be making thankfully a good recovery. And then in the blink of an eye, it's ended tragically. Following the day of that interview with the local media, he tragically collapsed at home and died.
Investigations found that his death was due to complications caused by his injuries. The Polish driver served his prison sentence and was deported.
Consideration was given for him to be charged with more serious offences of causing the death. Ultimately, a decision was made that no further action would be taken. Being a professional lorry driver, you set yourself up as being one of the best drivers on the road. But we know he's driven for at least 20 seconds on the wrong side of the road. Being a driver of his standard, he should not succumb to that type of distraction. It's a significant lapse of concentration. And you had the other driver doing a job he loved, doing a job well. And ultimately it's tragic the way it's turned out.
Every serious incident on the road requires forensic examination.
We've got to start asking the question, why has this happened?
Pedestrians been struck in the cold off area of this dual carriageway. Cars failed to stop.
And inside the cordons, dedicated officers take on this challenge.
Clearly, I don't think this came out of the factory sounding like that. This person's lost their life for whatever reason. We're trying to establish why.
And only now can I realise that that is actually in the middle of my lane.
Tracking down the evidence.
This is really important, this is key.
To get to the truth.
Once we've got somebody, that's going to put him in the driver's seat.
There's a death on the road, so we've got to be investigated properly and thoroughly.
This is a proper head scratcher, this is.
All in a day's work for the crash detectives.
Go ahead.
Can I just pass you the driver's details, please? What looks has happened is a male's pulled into the yard, coming to work, and it looks like there's a female hit by the car.
Thank you.
Definitely. I'm going to come in a second. Have a sit by him. We'll do a breath procedure, and we'll go from there, alright?
The driver of a black Ford Mondeo is now under arrest. His car has struck a 34-year-old woman who was riding an electric scooter.
It was an ambulance that we're here first.
Ambulance. RRV here first.
So she's been coming from this direction, down this section of road, at the same time as the Mondeo's been coming this way. As she's gone past the site entrance just up ahead, he's turned in. For whatever reason, doesn't appear to have seen her. This is the state that the e-scooters ended up in. That's obviously the sort of foot plate and the connecting parts of it. So we've got the handlebars there. Oh, okay, there we go. That's the headlight sort of built into the e-scooter.
The injured woman had been on her way to work.
It could well be, yeah, it could be a protein shake. She's got her wallet in here as well, just so we know.
She was treated by paramedics on the roadside.
So we had an update from the hospital.
Yeah.
It's life-changing injuries to her right leg. She has got a bump on her head. Didn't have a helmet on. No. Doesn't appear she had any protective equipment on at all.
With debris scattered across this scene, it's starting to reveal how the car and rider made contact.
Obviously we've got a piece of missing number plate which is over in the scene over there. So this would be the first point at which she impacted the car. So her legs been on the scooter, so probably a little bit higher than my foot on the floor, but essentially here. Her leg has taken the full force of the car hitting her. So that's caused her to lean over onto the car. This dent here will be her hip. And then you can see cleaning marks coming up here. So indicating she slid up the bonnet and then impacted the windscreen. The makeup's come off in the glass. So that tells me that this is likely to be a strike from her face and head. And she's continued to travel sort of over the top of the car. Towards the end of coming over the car, we've got a cleaning mark which comes down to this corner of the rear windscreen, and as the impact on that's caused the windscreen to smash, and then she'll have come off the back of the car.
The damage is a clear indication of the forces involved. Now Kath wants to know where both vehicles were on the road at the time they collided.
So we've got this mark here. We can see in the dirt and grit something hard metallic has been pushed down into the road surface. So this is quite a heavily salted, gritted piece of road. You'd expect that if it happened last night or yesterday, there would be a layer of grit over the top of it. So that is fresh. That's happened this morning, and it's in the right place, and it's heading in the direction of our e-scooter. That is my point of impact between the vehicle and the scooter.
And there's more to indicate how this collision has unfolded.
If you look at the road surface, there's a lot of fresh scratches in this area, which is made by all of these little bits and pieces being pushed along the road. So we can see a whole series of them leading that way, which shows us the direction that the scooter rider's gone. This scuff here that was produced as the tyre was dragged across the road surface, which is likely to be at marker 3. So we've got this line going through here. So that front wheel's just been pushed into the road surface and dragged along it.
But there's now a question over the distance between the point of impact and where the car has come to rest.
Because you'd like to think once you've struck something in the road, you were going to
you'd have a bit of
the brakes.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Doesn't look like there's any brake marks, is there?
Nothing that I can see. Looking at the lack of marks on the road, I don't think that the position of the car in relation to the scooter is any indication of speed. I think he's just rolled here after the collision.
The man at the wheel told police that he just didn't see the scooter rider. As he turned into the yard, he only heard the impact and his windscreen shattered. But the evidence still needs to be examined from all available angles.
The security office just over there.
Yeah.
I've got a CCTV camera on the pole just around there, and this is the CCTV from that.
Let's have a look. She's got a light on and she's going to make her way down to the point of collision about here. You could see that bright headlight coming along in a nice straight line, nice and controlled speed.
She makes progress towards the scene. But another camera is also recording as the car driver approaches.
So you see his headlights reflected in this car first. There they are. And then he'll come along here, starts braking. As he comes into the shot there, you can see the centre line of the road, and he's already starting to cut across it. His turning's here. He's already across onto the offside of the road at that point. You can see the brake lights are illuminated, but it doesn't look like he's braking harshly. He's just sort of gradually slowing down as he moves into the sight. And just at this point, you see her do a little swerve. She's now leaning away from the car slightly. I think at that point she's probably realised what's going to happen.
While the footage has captured the collision, it's now raising further questions.
Looking at that CCTV as it is, that light appears to be incredibly bright. It was about 20 minutes before dawn. It was not light yet, and yet the scene appears to be quite well illuminated, even into the background there. I think everyone who saw it was quite surprised at how obvious we thought the e-scooter rider would be, and that the collision actually took place.
But inquiries don't stop there.
I want to see it from the driver's point of view. That might well be very, very different to the point of view of the CCTV camera, and I think, to be fair to all parties, I need to make sure that what I'm seeing is as was seen by the people there at the time.
With the driver facing potentially serious charges, the team have gone back to the scene of the crash to carry out a reconstruction.
The CCTV camera that was recorded the collision is sort of way up there on a pole, and that's obviously a very different angle to the angle that the driver would have seen it. Plan is we'll start at point of impact and work our way back. I spent a little bit of time working out the maths, working out where the car and the e-scooter would have been relative to each other on the approach to the point of impact. We're going to reposition them both at various points, take photographs, which will show us whether or not the e-scooter rider would have been easily visible.
But the position of each vehicle isn't the only detail that's been carefully planned.
It's important to do the reconstruction at the equivalent time, not the same time of day, but the equivalent time, so when the sun's in the same position. This happened in civil twilight, so that's when the sun is between -6 degrees, so below the horizon, and the point that we've got sunrise. It is 5:46, so we've got half an hour until hopefully the light should be right to get going. Getting the lighting exactly right is really key, particularly when we're looking at people's viewpoints, so that we're producing something that's representative of what happened prior to the collision.
And as the team take up their positions, the pressure is on.
In civil twilight, the light is changing really rapidly. I wanted to get the whole thing done within 15 minutes if I could. So that's point of impact, so now if we move it back. So the camera was inside the car, and we moved the car and the e-scooter back from the point of impact. It was a huge amount of work in this case, but it's absolutely worth it to make sure that the outcome is fair for everyone involved. And there's good. Next! You've gone behind the cars now, and those cars were there. This whole row was full at the time of the collision. Yeah. Right, done.
And now analysis can begin.
So that's from 80 metres. The car there is 80 metres from the point of impact, and then it's going to be 10 metre increments from there. So I chose 80 because that I was fairly confident that she wouldn't actually be in view at all at 80.
Yeah.
And she isn't. I suppose the issues we've got here, we've got this row of bollards, we've got a couple of lamp posts, we've got the signs as well. And that's where our e-scooter rider is going to appear from. So that's from 70 metres. You can see the e-scooter, you can see there, we know that that's the e-scooter rider behind that lamppost. But if you didn't know that, I think that would be really difficult to pick out.
Yeah, 100%.
Confused with all of this sort of reflective road signage, all of these bollards. So to ask a driver in a dynamic situation at that point to pick out that there's an e-scooter there, I think would be almost impossible. That's 60. That's 50. So I think still quite visually grouped with all of this. It would have been a really gradual, slow movement out to that position. A person on an e-scooter is very static. You don't have any of the biological movement that you would associate with somebody walking or somebody cycling. And that would have been coming really steadily along the road. So this is from 40 metres. I think at that point they start to become a little bit more distinct from the road furniture.
There's a nice dark background now as well, isn't there?
And that's giving really good contrast with this jacket. But again, if that jacket is more reflective than the jacket that she was wearing at the time, then actually she would be less visible than that.
And this would also have implications for the visibility of the scooter's headlight.
You actually lose the light as well, don't you, because of the reflective jacket.
Yeah.
All you can see is there. You can't actually see the actual light itself.
No.
It'd be very hard to notice that it's getting closer to you.
But they must consider more than just what the driver might have been able to see.
Do you think from this point they're now just concentrating on where they're going?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, if they haven't noticed by that point, they've kind of visually gone, well, I think that bit of the road's clear. So I'm just going in through that gate. If he's travelled that route at the same time of day for a few weeks, he probably doesn't expect much to be coming along it. And that would feed into his expectation of what he's going to see, his expectation of what he's going to have to react to.
Kath has calculated that the driver had between 2.9 and 4.1 seconds to see and react to the oncoming e-scooter. But the rider should not have been on the road.
On the approach to the collision, she was riding that illegally. Obviously, that doesn't absolve the driver from any responsibility in hitting her. Part of the duty of driving is a duty of care to all other road users.
The driver blamed a momentary lapse in concentration. He admitted driving without due care and attention and was fined £360.
Perceiving what was in front of him would have been very difficult. That's a hugely different perspective than what we saw from the CCTV, which is why it's really important to do that work to get those answers.
Police emergency.
Yes, hello, we are calling from BMW Emergency Center to report an accident with a motorrad in the area of Raglan. We don't have any voice contact with the motorrad. Nobody is answering. We need to request police and ambulance.
As we're approaching now, you can actually see where the motorcycle has ended up post-collision. There's a male and female on it. There's a pillion passenger as well as the rider.
Both have been seriously injured and are now on their way to hospital.
Because of the curvature of this road, I've been here several times with collisions, different severities. There's marks, all the way around the box section of Armco. So yeah, you've got to try and decipher what's old, what's new with this collision.
As a motorcycle rider himself,
right, here we go.
He's now trying to understand how the bike has travelled through this scene.
So there's nothing obvious at the moment of why they've lost control.
They were navigating the tight bend of this slip road to join the dual carriageway.
We've got plastic on there, you can see there. We got scuffing. We've got this big tyre mark. That's not a motorcycle tyre, that's a car, HGV. The motorcycle hasn't caused that damage. That's old damage. As we come here then, I can see a gravel mark, a mark going through the gravel, which is a single narrow tyre mark, which is indicating to me is a motorcycle tyre. So this is the start of it there. You see it going through. Extends through onto the chamfered curb, and you're getting these striations. So it's what it's indicating to me that the wheels on the motorcycle are still rotating. The rider may be braking, but it's certainly not emergency braking. And it's going through all the way to that point there where you've got markings appearing now on the box barrier. That's fresh.
But they reveal more than just where the bike has made contact.
Let's move this section of Armco. The force on it has moved it. But what's significant then, we got this as a tyre mark, but we got this mark here. This is a fresh mark. But it's quite wide. If you think of the motorcycle stood up there and it's starting to come in, and it's starting to lose it on obviously the bend, the left-hand bend. This is probably the rider getting his foot down. So probably the bike is now snaking a bit because rider's trying to fight it. Again, we've got fresh debris here, maybe clothing off the rider. You've got this mark here, which is probably his right foot coming down, because the wheels are now out that far, so he's got his right foot down. So maybe his bike's going this way, then he's fought it that way and gone back in. So after he treated him here, the bike's proceeded on his own till it's come to the point of rest.
The evidence is clearly revealing the rider's actions. But there was also a woman travelling on the back of the bike.
We know the pillion passenger was treated on the other side of the carriageway. So we know at some point she's separated from the bike, has actually breached the barrier, and she's landed on this side of the carriageway. But it's at what point she did it. We got this abrasive mark, which is fresh. So now looking on the barriers, any other evidence. So if something had dragged over here, you would expect something gathering there, but nothing. All I can see is like a shade of blue coming through, extends through. That's her helmet. So at some point her helmet has come into contact with the road surface. I'm surprised I haven't seen any fibres, but if she's wearing black they'll be hard to see. So whether at this point it's just her head in connection with the road surface until she comes to a point of rest here.
The 45-year-old woman and 47-year-old man were on a biking tour from Sweden and were just 6 days into their trip.
Nice bit of kit, 1250cc. You can quite clearly see it's a newish bike. It's well looked after, it's clean, the chrome is sparkling on it. The tyre's in very good condition. At this moment in time, I'm not suspecting a mechanical issue that has caused them to lose control.
But there is something missing from the rear of this bike.
There's his pannier, look. This is the one that would be associated with the offside of the bike.
And damage to this luggage box could show more about the dynamics of this collision.
If I just try and do a bit of a mechanical fit. So you've got these linear marks. So as it's coming across, I don't know if you look inside, you've got the makeup of the bolt system on the barriers. You can see where they've snagged in and caught. It's more sledging across the top of the barrier. So this is continued from 9 through to 10 to 11. As the bike is leaning now, that's the way the bike has remained coming through. In fairness, he's tried to fight control of it all the way. It's probably between 22 and 23 that he has now come separated from the bike himself. The wheels are still rotating, and then is actually furrowing through the grass verge, the mud. So he's splaying it out.
And this means a possible cause of the collision can now be ruled out.
At no time has the bike gone onto its side, so a good indication that, you know, there's no great speed involved here where it's just gone drastically wrong.
But the bike detected that it was out of control.
Hello, we are calling from BMW Emergency Center to report an accident.
And activated a key safety feature.
We don't have any voice contact with the motor red.
The motorcycle has sent an automated signal to BMW saying he's been involved in a collision.
With the injured rider failing to respond to the operator's call, the alarm was raised.
The cleverness of the system is that it's actually given a coordinate of where the bike is in Raglan, in Wales. It's directed all the emergency service to this location. I think due to the way the rider reacted to the incident, with the added weight of the luggage and the pillion passenger. Quite clearly is an experienced rider.
So just why was their journey cut short in this way?
I did notice that the road surface at the time was in very poor condition. So as you can see, it's almost like a piece of corrugated metal. With HGVs, as the vehicles are now tracking around the bend, there's no steering on the rear axle, so the tyres are straight, but they're actually scrubbing across the road surface, so they cause this corrugation of the road surface. Certainly as a motorcyclist, you wouldn't be travelling in lane 1 because of the poor state of the road. And therefore, you'd be in lane 2.
But that lane also has its hazards.
As the vehicles are travelling round, anything coming off the road surface is being pushed out to the outside of the bend, so that's why you're getting that formation of gravel and grit. Over time, it builds up until you've got a depth of it. Probably the one vehicle you don't want to be on to travel through that debris is a motorcycle. It's called the edge of debris, and there's no coming out of there. To have that amount of potholing and debris on the road surface, and for that to be the sole causation factor of the collision, is relatively rare.
While the debris was swept away, it was a longer road to recovery for the bikers themselves.
It could have been a very different outcome. Due to the technology on the motorcycle, it got help to the people who needed it a lot quicker than if they were trying to describe their location.
The riders were treated for pelvic and leg injuries before returning home to Sweden for further care.
I suppose other riders, motorcycle users, being involved in that level of collision and sustaining those injuries probably would never get back on a motorcycle.
But their experience hasn't dented their passion for biking.
It was credit to them that they're back on the bike and they've continued what they were doing prior to this incident.
Every serious incident on the road requires forensic examination.
We've got to start asking the question, why is this happening? Pedestrians been struck in the coned off area of this dual carriageway. The car has failed to stop.
And inside the cordons, dedicated officers take on this challenge.
Clearly, I don't think this came out of the factory sounding like that.
This person's lost their life for whatever reason. We're here trying to establish why.
And only now can I realise that that is actually in the middle of my lane.
Tracking down the evidence.
This is really important, this is key.
To get to the truth.
Once we've got somebody, that's going to put him in the driver's seat.
There's a death on the road, so we've got to be investigated properly and thoroughly.
This is a proper head scratcher, this is.
All in a day's work for the crash detectives.
Police emergency.
It's a road traffic accident. 2 cars involved. One guy looks as if he's seriously injured. He came out of the car and I think he may be dead.
Okay,
Right, just give us a bit of space. Right. Yeah, that's what I want.
Put this mask on you a minute, fella, alright?
Are you a witness, sir?
I was in the car.
You were in this car?
I was in the car.
You were in this car?
Yeah, I was in the passenger. Where's the driver? I don't know the drivers, I don't have a clue. But I was in the passenger, I don't have a clue. I don't know who you were driving.
That lady there says somebody in a puffer jacket did run that direction.
which would tend to get you the driver.
As questions are mounting over the whereabouts of the driver, critical care doctors are now on scene.
There's one in there.
Two of them, yeah?
Yeah. He's been ejected on impact.
A 22-year-old man and a 21-year-old woman have been seriously injured. As they're taken to hospital, investigative work at the scene of this crash can now begin.
Initially, it would appear that the Citroen has been travelling this direction towards Newport, and the other vehicle, the Polo, has been travelling in the opposite direction.
They're now looking for evidence of how the two cars have collided.
I was expecting damage for like front corner to corner, but there isn't. It's just avoided the front of it and has actually struck it just in line with the A-pillar.
So it must have been slightly sideways to be able to do that.
While this damage can be explained by the impact with the Citroen, it's proving more difficult to understand what's happened to the other side of the car.
I don't know if fire brigade done that.
We had one passenger who's ejected, who's landed here, and the other rear seat passenger still inside, so I don't think fire would have needed to do anything.
This is a proper head scratcher, this is.
The man thought to be at the wheel of the Polo has fled the scene, while the driver of the Citroen C3 has minor injuries, despite this impact.
The drive shaft's there, it's pulled the drive shaft out of that wheel.
Yeah.
That connects the gearbox to the wheels. That bit there was connected to that.
To cause damage like this requires huge force.
Is it in gear or is it neutral?
It's in neutral, handbrake's on. There's no airbag deployment, so it's either been stationary or very slow moving.
And I think if he's hit it, hang on, there you go. Look towards me. See that? See that? Hang on, stop, stand by, stand by, stand by.
Yep, I can see it, yep. Yeah.
It would appear to be a loaded tyre mark. That's it.
That's just popped out of nowhere, hasn't it?
I know, it's mad, isn't it? So the temperature's changing probably.
So this will be the front offside tyre, and as he's come through here, that's the wheel that's been loaded and it's made this mark.
It basically starts to show where the vehicle is starting to lose control.
This means they can now start to track the path of the VW Polo further into the scene.
Give it another 12, maybe 9, 12 inches and that stops, doosh, give or take. I reckon about there.
Yeah.
So I reckon that's probably point of contact.
But then that leads... Have we got anything on the curb?
That's what I'm thinking. Well, that's where he's mounted the curb, isn't he?
Yeah. He must have had a good amount of momentum still to carry him through to there. If you look at the mark off up this way, that black stripe at the edge of the yellow markers, that's the tyre. And a little bit further on it turns into a gouge on the pavement. The tyre's probably burst at that point. It's sitting on the rim, so it's only the rim that's pushing it down into the ground, so that's why we've got that nice thin mark. just where this gouge mark gets close to the wall, we can see white paint transferred over, and you can see bits of the rear light cluster where he's just sideswiped this wall. So at this point the car is sort of more and more sideways as it moves towards that lamppost.
Now I think this is lamppost. I think he's just glanced it, but because it struck it at the B pillar, which is where obviously the rear door is mounted, it's basically just ripped the door open.
That door's caught on here,
Yeah.
pushed it back, so it'll come round here.
Yeah, it's pirouetted round and it's been airborne. The point at which the front then has then hit the floor is here. And then it's just dragged the alloy to there. No, we haven't necessarily got an idea of speed yet, but when you consider just how much it's moved the lamppost, it would appear to be fairly high. As it's flung round, and the pivot will have just ejected the passenger. Because I'm guessing, yeah, they didn't have the belt on.
While the man lay seriously injured on the road, the driver chose to run away. And at the scene of the crash, witnesses told police that they'd seen him making his escape.
We're quite happy that the driver has gone that way. The witnesses in the car behind.
He said that he's got out of the car and run down towards the curb.
Sarge? I think this is CCTV. So I think that is the potential suspect.
Did you get the description from the CCTV? It looks like black shoes, light blue body to a jacket with a navy blue arms.
Thank you. Yeah, we think there was 4 people in the car. Obviously the driver's run off, gone down, we think, into Ringland. We've captured him on CCTV a couple of times. Yeah. Then a black Audi has picked him up. From that footage, we've then been able to compare that to vehicles we've got on our database. Excuse me, sir. Go ahead, Rob.
Possibly found it.
Yeah, I'll come back shortly. Possibly found.
Is that the Audi?
The Audi. Can you do a check on that to see who it comes back to, and then do associate checks for that person to see if any of the people who are in the car are associates of those individuals, yeah.
As inquiries gain pace, so does analysis of the evidence at the scene.
It shows our vehicle is on the incorrect side of the road for the direction he was travelling. Starting to suggest that our VW driver is the one that's at fault in this collision.
And while they don't have the suspected driver, what they do have is the car. It's now been recovered from the scene to a secure compound.
There's obviously a question over who the driver was. So what we need is forensic evidence, DNA, fingerprints, that sort of thing. Once we've got somebody, this is what's going to say that was the person in the car driving at the time of the collision. That's going to put him in the driver's seat.
But there's more in this car that could link the driver to the collision. But they'll need to move fast.
There's obviously sections of glass.
Yeah.
So if we do identify a suspect,
if we can identify what clothing they were wearing along with their trainers, because potentially there could be there's fragments of glass everywhere, so there could be a section or a fragment of that glass that's embedded within their footwear or within their trainer that they might not know about. So their footwear is
now you've
quite
mentioned that,
important.
because I know they're actively looking for him now, aren't they?
Hey, Matt.
Hey Sarge, all right, you free to speak a minute?
Yeah, go on, mate.
It's likely to be beneficial from the inquiry to seize the clothing and his footwear for comparisons to glass, because there is glass samples on the seat and in the footwell.
Yes, that's fair comment, mate. Nice one.
Yeah, no problem.
And the forensic opportunities don't end there.
There's obviously clearly airbags that has been deployed. So there's a good chance that the suspect has contacted one of these airbags here, and they could have potentially DNA or saliva on it.
Because it's one thing being in a car, there's another thing being in during a collision when the airbags are deployed.
Exactly.
At the same time the airbags were fired, another safety feature was also activated.
This seatbelt has been pulled tight there. The car's sensed the collision. So that's good evidence that that seatbelt wasn't worn at the time of the collision.
But it's a different story for those travelling in the front.
There you go.
Oh, nice.
See the abrasion there? It's a very indicative mark. The seatbelt at the time of impact was being worn. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
It's like a two-stage.
Got a lovely one on there as well.
Yeah.
And this could also link the driver to the crash.
Or bruising can go on for weeks, especially this type of dramatic bruising.
Sometimes the longer it's left,
the more
it sort of develops. So I think once you do identify a suspect, we should be looking at definitely having a look at his body to see if it's consistent with your findings with the seatbelt.
Because it's definitely been worn.
Yeah.
At the point at which that pyrotechnics, that pretension is fired, it's definitely been on.
Yeah.
But for any of these to be of use, there's now an urgency to find the man who was at the wheel.
But we're not just looking necessarily for footage from after the incident. We also want to know what he's been doing earlier in the day.
And in the hours before the collision, the car has been traced back to a pub. The white VW Polo can be seen on CCTV.
That would have been one of the last pieces of footage of that car prior to the collision.
But it wasn't just the car that was recorded on camera. Captured just half an hour before leaving, the occupants can be seen enjoying a drink. But one of the men stood out.
You can see a male in the same dark blue and light blue puffer jacket. Response officers looked at that footage
and realised they dealt with him before.
From the CCTV footage in the pub, they particularly remembered a hand tattoo that he has and a chunky silver bracelet that he normally wears.
They now knew exactly who they were looking for.
This is a man who appears to have run from the scene, leaving the people who presumably he knew with very, very serious injuries.
But questions still remain about the part he had to play in this collision.
Because the airbags have been deployed, because the seatbelt pretensioners have been activated, we know that probably that car's stored some data about what happened in the 5 seconds leading up to that collision.
So they've used a specialist system to access the electronics of the Polo.
And that looks really good.
It's now produced a snapshot of information, listed in half-second intervals.
So we can see from this, the accelerator pedal going from 20%, 24, 64 and 100%, that's flat to the floor at that point. It's data that links directly to what the person is doing to the controls of the car, and it tells us exactly what their manner of driving was prior to the collision. He's doing 68 miles per hour there.
The speed limit is 30 miles an hour.
He's also putting left-hand steering input in. So he's almost at 90 degrees, isn't it? 88 degrees. So he's kind of at this point with the accelerator planted as hard as it'll go, and the car is still accelerating. And this is what, 4 seconds prior to impact?
Yeah.
So it goes from that point, roughly,
yep,
to back to 0.
That's quite a harsh.
But still accelerating 3.5 seconds beforehand, and then back, and then
round to the right.
Round to the right by almost the same amount. He's gone on from there to there in a second, but it's still accelerating at 100%.
And then another half a second, he's back to leftward steering.
So he's back to here, roughly, maybe at that sort of angle. By reading the data, you can almost see the panic in the driver trying to gain control back again, and clearly failed.
With 2 of his passengers now paying the price of this erratic driving, he has some serious questions to answer. But despite efforts to track him down, he continued to evade police.
WO calling Foxtrot Echo 3-1.
Until they finally had a breakthrough.
Foxtrot Echo 3-1. Are you able to assist local units, please, in Newport for assistance gain entry?
They've had a tip-off that the man they're searching for is hiding at a top-floor flat in the city centre.
There's quite a few officers out there at the moment. They're looking for a Jamie Chalice.
Oscar, what we can do?
Go ahead.
Got Jamie Chalice in custody.
Nice one, well done.
Jamie, are you responsible for driving a motor vehicle when he was involved in a crash on Christchurch Road?
I think at this point I'll read out the prepared statement on behalf of Jamie.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, for the purposes of the tape. I, Jamie Chalice, will say as follows. I deny.
The 24-year-old man admits he was travelling in the car at the time of the crash and that he ran away from the scene. But he's denying that he was the driver.
Explain to me as best you can how the collision between the VW Polo that you were travelling in and the Citroen C3, how did it happen?
No comment.
So if he's adding no detail, they'll need to rely on other ways to piece together exactly how this collision unfolded. On the evening of the crash, the team used a laser scanner to capture an accurate record of the scene.
So we've got this scale plan view of the scene from above, essentially. So this is the plan without anything on it. So the direction of travel is this.
And it's now been combined with the electronic evidence taken from the VW Polo.
This is the Citroen here. The lamppost is here, and this is the Polo at its point of rest. So that data has allowed me to essentially plot all of the actions taken by the driver on a map. This particular section of road is 30 miles an hour, and you can see 68, 67, 70 miles an hour at this point.
This top speed of 70 miles per hour was recorded just 2 seconds before the Polo hit the Citroen. And its driver is now a key witness.
We have a statement. He says, I first noticed the VW Polo on the apex of the bend The vehicle appeared to be travelling at high speed. It's difficult to actually document an exact speed from what I saw. I was very frightened for my own safety. I was in the path of the VW Polo, which appeared to be flying towards me. I didn't really have anywhere to go, so I stopped my vehicle and tucked in as far as possible to the side to try and keep myself safe.
He's steering really sharply, so 72 degrees to the left, so that's probably about that sort of position. This fits with the position of this loaded tyre mark just prior to impact with the Citroën that we saw at the scene.
The VW Polo then hit my vehicle, which was stationary at this point.
All the way through this, the accelerator's pinned to the floor. This is the point where he decides, okay, I'm going to take my foot off the accelerator. So within the same half a second is when he decides to put the brake on, which is the point of impact with the Citroën. He's now travelling back to the near side of the road, and at this point the data shows us that he's put in a sudden right steering event, 106 degrees, which is quite a large rightward steering input, and at this point he's still travelling at 43 miles an hour. The back of the car is sort of swinging around until he makes contact with that lamppost. As the car then swung around into its final position, allowed the unseat-belted rear seat passengers to be thrown around and to actually come out of the car.
The electronic data is consistent with the evidence found at the scene. But it's also allowed Kath to track the road positioning of the Polo in the lead-up to the crash.
So this red line here is where that car would have been as it's come through that collision sequence.
But where the data recording ends, the witness accounts continue.
The driver emerged a couple of seconds after the car had come to a stop. I saw him get out of the driver's door of the VW Polo. I recall him walking around the car and looking at the male passenger who had fallen out of the vehicle. He didn't appear to check on him. He looked at him very briefly, and then I heard him say, "I gotta go." Did you say that and then run off?
No comment.
Still sticking with his version of events and denying being at the wheel.
We still need to, by some method or other, put him in the driver's seat if that's where he was. The very last forensic opportunity available to us was DNA.
With the driver's curtain airbag only deploying at the time of the crash, it's now crucial to this investigation.
That's really significant. It's very unlikely that any other person would have touched that airbag at the point of the collision. So what we needed to do is compare the DNA on the airbag to the DNA of the person that we believe to be the driver.
But as they waited for the results, it emerged that this wasn't the only serious offence that he was wanted for.
He was suspected to be linked to a number of other offences, particularly an aggravated burglary along with a number of other people. They had been wearing balaclavas when they'd broken into a house, they'd threatened the occupants with knives, and they'd demanded money.
But the gang was captured on CCTV.
Footage showed one of the burglars taking off his balaclava and discarding it at the side of the road. That was then seized and tested for DNA.
There were now 2 pieces of evidence with the potential to link him to crimes.
person was done. Both of those matched back to our driver.
Now clearly at the wheel at the time of the crash, there was no running away from the reality of his actions.
The manner of driving that we can see, not only from the collision, but the data that we've got, describes a person who has been absolutely reckless towards the safety of the people in the car, the people who might have been sharing the road with him.
The man he left lying on the road after being thrown from the car went on to make a recovery. But the woman was left with life-changing injuries.
Given the speeds, given the harshness of acceleration, the harshness of steering, I'm not surprised that he wasn't able to maintain control through that section of road.
The driver admitted causing serious injury by dangerous driving, as well as aggravated burglary. He also pleaded guilty to driving whilst disqualified, dangerous driving, and possession of drugs with intent to supply. He was jailed for almost 20 years.
It was science that's allowed us to bring this offender to justice and taken a dangerous offender off the streets.